Take me home tonight. Listen, honey, just like Ronnie said. Just like Ronnie said. Whoa, whoa, yeah.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the unofficial official pod from Straight No Chaser. I am Mike Luganbill. I am here as always with Segi and Tyler, who are also in the band. Hey guys, how are we doing today?
What's up?
Going
Feeling
on?
good?
Number 11.
Number
Feeling
11.
good, feeling fine.
Oh my goodness.
We're in the double dig. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's nice to see you guys. I know you guys have been working on music for the tour that's about to start, the Top Shelf Tour. It's going to start next week on October the 18th. We're really excited about that. I feel like with learning music and working on music and listening to stuff, I feel like I've reached the moment where I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit overwhelmed with everything because I have to learn all these songs and I think I know them. And then the one time that I run it and I'm not looking at the music, I'm like, all right, I don't know these yet.
You got time.
Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like I've reached that
Threshold.
threshold. So
Yeah, it's always fun to be like, not fun, but it's always funny when you're like, okay, today's Monday. We're recording this on Monday, and our first show is a week from Friday, and we haven't sung any of these songs together one time. It's always wow. We put up a show insanely fast. Like you think about Broadway shows or even like cruise ship shows, those things are in rehearsals for several weeks before they see the light of day. So props to our production team and even us for being able to get all that stuff done so fast. It's pretty incredible. And just, I want to say, I know this background, hat, jersey, and shirt, it's obnoxious. I get it. But last week, I did it and we won. We didn't have a pod for game one against Cleveland and we got absolutely smoked. So I'm hoping today's game will be a different story. So anyway, once we win the World Series, then I'll take it down.
I agree.
I actually
I
think
agree
you
with
should
what,
leave it. But yeah.
I agree with what Mike was saying, and like now it's the time where you feel a little overwhelmed just from like on my end, I'm working some stuff up for the all the new songs and stuff we got going on, and it's hard to. And then I switch modes once I get that done to learning my own parts and my own music. So it's hard to wrap your head around the show until you actually get into rehearsals, get into the choreography. Then you're like, okay, now I know what's going on, and now I can wrap my head around the show. Where now it's just there's 18 songs out there, and you're like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing in any of these songs.
Yeah. What's
Also, when you're in like a sink or swim moment on stage, that first show, you realize you've retained much more than you think you did, especially when it comes to the choreography, right? It
Yeah.
just all comes together and it's like magical in a way.
What's funny is like when Jill's just still watching the shows and somebody messes up on choreo, you can just hear her laughing
about
back
that.
there and writing a note down. She writes a note down like somebody screwed up,
It's never a
which
good
is highly likely in the first couple shows.
it's never a good thing when you see the top of Jill's head, because that means she's
Yep.
writing a note, somebody screwed up.
Yep, and
I think I've lost every single bet that
Okay, give a little
that,
context
that
about
I've
that
made
bet.
with her. So I think it started maybe 3 years ago. It was just for me to be like, all right, like I know this show and I know it in and out, and I'm gonna bet her that I'm not gonna make a mistake the whole time. So the first year I did it, it was song number one, and I went out on the side of the stage and I was supposed to go left, 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 and I went right, left, left. So like I lost right.
It was Yacht Rock.
It was the first one.
It was Yacht Rock because we enter from the side of the
Oh,
stage. Very first move of the show. But
I
at least
was
he got it
so
out of the way.
I was so mad.
He didn't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
But
And
that's one of the
then
ones where you're like, oh,
yeah,
maybe she wouldn't catch that.
exactly. But she caught it
You got it.
and I had
And
to pay up, that's for sure. So
she'll be a guest for a later time. But she's very talented at like finding the mistake, or not only just finding somebody who screwed up a dance move, but also like good at the overall picture as far as staging and hey, you need to be out a little bit so you're not blocking this guy, or hey, on this one don't come so far forward because then whatever. She's got the whole picture to look at to make sure it looks good from the audience perspective, which I think is very key.
Yeah. And for
Um,
those of you who've ever done marching band, it's similar to that. You got to be perfectly in place for the picture to look exactly right. And yeah, we're nerds.
um, I was
Nerds.
I was gonna say that even though it's a lot of songs, and next week will be the time that we're all together and we're learning all for the first time, it always works out. All these songs, everything, I don't know how, but it does. So that sort of gives me a little bit of confidence that it just always seems to come together.
I think because there's 9 of us. So
Yeah.
if you screw up a part, there's going to be 8 other guys that are likely not messing up at that exact same moment. So all those mistakes generally won't be heard by the audience. It's there's so much that happens on stage that the audience just has no clue. And it's hilarious to us, but no one else because they didn't realize that Freedom didn't know where he was starting on every song or all those things that kind of happen in the dark before a song. It's if you ever hear us laughing on stage in between songs, it's someone screwed up something,
Or
either
if
in
in
the
the
song prior or staging.
or if you see somebody like in the middle of two songs, like slowly walking and like looking around and trying to see, am I like looking at somebody else? Am I here? Is it over there? A little bit over here? Okay, here we go. And
Yeah.
usually it'll be Steve being like over here.
If you see one guy walking on stage and he's not the soloist, he's correcting being in the wrong spot. So just keep an eye out for that. That'll be a fun Easter egg for the entire tour. Yeah.
That's funny. It's always the same.
So at home, what is the one chore that you just absolutely despise?
All things laundry.
Okay.
Just because like it never stops.
Yeah. Especially with kids for sure.
Yeah.
My wife knows this, but she won't listen to this, but I I have a lot of animals at my place.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of feeding them. I know that I have to do it every day, and it's just lot of stuff that goes along with it. It's not just like feeding your dogs, oh, scoop it down, then you go. It's a lot, and twice a day just gets it's the thing I don't really enjoy.
So what happens when you're gone then?
It is all on my wife, who is awesome. She has other help too, like if we're both gone, but usually it's all on her, which she is awesome,
Uh,
and she doesn't get enough respect. All of our wives don't get enough respect for what they endure for when we're gone. Yeah, they're awesome.
For me, you're in a unique situation. Like not everyone has a farm with 10 acres and 600 horses and goats and
All
chickens
the
and
animals.
whatever else you got in the last couple of days. For me, I don't mind laundry. I don't mind doing the dishes. I don't mind cooking. I don't mind cleaning. Unloading the dishwasher is for me.
Mm.
I don't know why it's such a random thing that's not that big of a deal, but I don't mind loading it. I don't mind hand washing every single thing. But unloading the dishwasher for some reason, I cannot stand it. Also, like kids like folding their laundry afterwards because every article of clothing is now inside out.
Mm.
So you have to turn it back out and fold it. That's really annoying.
So are you saying that next week when you leave, and then for the next 3 months, you don't have to do any of that?
Oh,
And you're
I
looking
don't.
forward.
When I come home, I do as much as
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
when I get home.
Of
It's
course.
that being away guilt. It's why I don't like really go golfing because we're gone so much already. And I feel like it's hard for me to justify, hey, I'm gonna go golf for 4 hours.
Right.
And I'm gonna be honest, it's not just I'm gonna go golf for 4 hours. I'm gonna go golf for 4 hours and likely have several libations.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll be useless to her and the kids like for the entire day. So I'm burning an entire day, but I was just on tour for 8 weeks. Like I don't know. I just
Well,
have
you
that.
know that there's a way that you can play golf and not end up like that. It's
Yeah,
not as
but
much fun, but
I don't see. You're a serious golfer. Like you
Sure.
are actively working to become a better golfer. I don't
Sure.
care that
Yeah.
much. Like I just like
Yeah,
playing
true.
golf. It's fun.
Yeah.
If I had your mindset, yeah, of course it'd be a lot different. It's anything else. Like it's
Yeah, I mean, I also
many,
like to have a lot of fun on the golf course, but
yeah.
I mean,
But like a lot of people will crush a
scale
bunch of
back.
drinks
Okay.
and go sing
Yeah.
karaoke. But I
Sure.
wouldn't drink before a show because like
You're a pro.
you in golf, I'm trying to get better each show and each song and this and that. But when the show's over,
You
look
go
out.
I
you
appreciate
go
that.
to
So
yeah, you go to karaoke after the show.
Yeah, on the bus.
Yeah,
And it's usually
right, exactly.
Carrie, Kill Tony.
Oh, nice. Take off.
Yeah. So anyway, Mike, I'm going to throw the mic your way.
it's a little bit of a switch up in the episode this week. We're going to have a guest this week. We are really excited to welcome him to the podcast. We feel like he has a lot of insights that he can offer into the group, into the inner workings of the group. And we think it's going to be a great chat with him today. So, with no further ado, we are going to enter into the podcast our manager extraordinaire, David Britz.
Britzy in the house.
What's up, Britz?
There he is.
There he is.
How we doing?
David,
We're doing
nice
good,
to see you, man.
See you guys.
How are you?
Look at that
I'm doing
fancy
great, man.
ceiling.
Yeah,
Fancy
no, it's
ceiling.
nice, huh? I asked for the fancy ceiling.
Ceiling trim. It's
Yeah.
always a nice touch. Elevates any room.
Yeah, it's pretty fun in here.
Nice.
Little
It's nice to see you, man. It's nice to see you. Where are you in the world right now?
I am in your neck of the woods in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, nice. What are you doing here?
There is a conference here for the next couple of days called AIBA, which is one of a few music business conferences that happen throughout the course of the year. And it's a chance for promoters and agents and managers and folks to get together and get some business done and see each other all in one place. It's a good place to get things done.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nice of you to make a little bit of time here. We really appreciate you being on. So as we're leading up to the tour, we wanted to have you on to go through some things, how you set up the tour and all of these different things about working with us and everything. I wanted to start off, though. I was going to ask you if maybe you could let us know a little bit about you, about where you're from and where you live now, how you got in management as a whole.
Yeah, happy to. I grew up very far from the music business in Wilmington, Delaware. It was an interesting thing to want to be in the music business because no one I knew did anything like that. So it wasn't something that I saw and thought was possible. But I was the kid every Tuesday, which when I was young, that's when music came out. I was in the record store. I knew what was coming out. I knew who produced it. I knew who wrote the songs and was just fascinated by the entire process. And as I would read the liner notes, I saw these people, the agent, the manager, and I knew that they weren't performers, but they got to work with the artists. And I was like, I want to be like these people. So as I was finishing school, I was going to go to law school, took my LSATs, was going to move to Los Angeles and use that as my way into the music business. And then about 2 weeks before I was going to graduate, I was like, I can't go back to school again. And I'm just going to move to LA anyway. And I'm going to find my way into the music business. And I want to be a manager. So let's start now. So I moved. I knew 2 people. And knew 2 people in the city. One, my old roommate from Penn State. And I knew one other and another guy. And the other guy happened to work in the music business. And he gave me a shot, the music business equivalent of sweeping floors, doing a data entry. And we signed, the management company signed a new artist. And the ops manager sent out an email. And she said, hey, we signed this new artist. Come grab a CD. That's how long ago it was. Come grab a CD. So I went and grabbed a CD and listened to it and wrote a marketing plan for this artist. I didn't know what a marketing plan was. I just had a bunch of ideas and I put them on paper and I said, I'm going to send this to the head of the company and either they'll like it and maybe I'll get a full-time gig out of this or get some sort of movement in my career. So I sent it and minutes later, it's great. You're going to do the day-to-day managing on this guy. And so I learned how to be a manager by being a manager and learned on the job. And if I didn't know something, I figured it out. And I just started to build a career from there.
Who is the CD?
I love that.
There's a guy named Curtis Stigers. Curtis was is a jazz saxophonist and singer. He had a big hit in the 90s called I Wonder Why. He also had a song on the Bodyguard soundtrack. And so he was a pop singer and then was segueing his career into jazz. So we were managing him for his first jazz record.
Nice.
That's great. So what year would that have been when you started working with him?
That would have been 2002.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was I moved to LA in January of 2002. So this all happened that year.
That's great. So fast forward a little bit for us and tell us the story of how Straight No Chaser, quote unquote, came across your desk, or how you heard of us and how you decided that you wanted to manage us.
Yeah, I remember we got a phone call from Atlantic, and I think it was Craig's office, Craig Cowman, CEO of Atlantic, and he was looking for a manager for this a cappella group he signed. And it's 10 guys. It's really starting from the ground up, but it was something he believed in. And they all went to Indiana University. I was like, oh, that's cool. We Big Ten. I went to Penn State. This could be cool. We had the first call, and the first call was with Randy, and started talking to Randy. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting to me. And then my partner at the time, we were like, oh, let's fly these guys out and let's see if this is what this thing is. Because I didn't have a ton of experience with acapella. So I was like, I want to see this live and in person. So I remember we had a meeting in the conference room, and then we had this atrium in the office at the time. And everybody came out and they sang in the atrium. And I remember thinking to myself, holy, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on this, so I'm not going to. But but I was blown away. And I think you have those moments in your career where something happens and you're like, oh, that was a moment.
Right.
And that was a moment for me. I knew. So I was like,
What
I got to
song
work.
was it? I'm not sure I remember the song, but
Right. Africa, probably.
It was there. I want to say you did two songs,
okay.
but one of them, Africa was definitely one of them. And then I want to say it was something like Up on the Roof or like one of
Yeah.
those. Yeah. And it wasn't just the singing, it was the interaction between everybody and the banter and you could just tell there was, these weren't at the time 10 people thrown together. These were
Right.
people that had a natural rapport with each other. And in my mind, if the singing was great and there was this natural rapport when they're not on stage, there's going to be something on stage as well. There's something here. So I just was like, I'm in. And come to find out later that Craig had called a bunch of managers and everybody was scared off because it was 10 guys.
Right.
And I think the interesting thing was very quickly we found a workflow. It was never, oh, I don't know how we're going to do it. It naturally evolved. And a lot of the things we do then, we still do now. It was easy in the sense of working together. And that's when you know something's meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we know how you felt about the group at the time that you took us on and everything, but what were some of the reactions from like close friends and family, colleagues, peers? Was there any, dude, what are you doing, man? You're going to throw a lot of time and sweat equity and probably money into this. And this is going to be like, what were some of those reactions?
I wish I had as great a story as Cindy has. Cindy Lynott, our first marketing manager at Atlantic Records, has a great story when it comes to this. You guys should have her on just to tell that story.
Okay.
But I think people were just curious more than anything, because at that time we were really, unless people knew Take Six or knew rockapella, there really wasn't a baseline of comparison for acapella on the popular music space. There just wasn't. So I think we were really blazing new ground. So I think people were just like, what is this? And how is it going to be a business? I think that was more the question, because really it was to take a group from the collegiate space and make them a professional touring group was really something that had never been done.
And
Because usually, like a cappella at that time, basically up until that time, was mainly, or I would say much more popular at the collegiate level. There were, like you said, a couple pro groups that had some success and some kind of here or there, but nothing that was like huge or anything, or nothing that like was like this with a bunch of guys trying to make a cappella into the professional level. So it was a new time, and I'm sure it was, yeah, a huge risk.
Remember also what was going on at that time too. This was 2008. This was the financial crisis.
Yeah.
The world's melting down.
Mm.
And we really had this sort of counter narrative to that. So I think there was really interesting timing for us because we had this story of these college friends who were getting back together and doing this thing that they always wanted to do. So you have the narrative of, oh my God, the world's ending and everything's falling apart. And here's these guys living out their dream. So it was a really interesting story to be telling at that specific time in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So we were
So
like
I think that helped us.
we were like the Ted Lasso of 2008.
Yeah.
Still
Ted
are.
Lasso, I'm a firm believer that Ted Lasso wouldn't be what it was if it didn't come out during the pandemic, because it's
Sure.
that beacon of hope. It's that light. But anyway, so you sign the group, you're all in, you have this belief, you have this vision, but now it's time to turn into a business. Are there any responses or just situations that you remember? I imagine trying to pitch this to promoters was an unbelievably uphill battle. So what was that like in the beginning stages? Hey, risk your money from your own pockets to put on this show that no one has any idea if it will work or not. What was that like in the very beginning, trying to get promoters just to see what you were able to see and what Craig saw?
The first real battle was with the label in getting them to actually allow us to put shows up. They had a plan that really was, let's wait around and hope we get press. And my response to that was, we can't wait. We've got to go out and create momentum. So if we're out on the road and we're doing things and we're selling tickets, that's going to build a narrative for press. The idea that we're just going to sit at home and hope somebody calls, that's the wrong choice. And I really hung my neck out there on that statement and pushed the label to spend money to give us tour support to allow us to go on the road. And we put those initial 6 shows up or 8 shows, and everything was selling. And it was one of those, okay, I was right about that.
Yeah.
Now
vindicated
it's
in that moment.
yeah. And then now it's okay. Now that the tickets are selling, now we need those press hits. And then we had the big New York Times hit. Then we had some media that kind of slowly came in, and it's okay. Now we're starting a snowball. And then we started seeing the record go to number 1 on iTunes and Amazon. And then we started really seeing the momentum that I had hoped for. That initial battle was with the label. Promoters, I feel like when you have a major record label, a real manager, and a real agent behind an act, and they're asking a promoter, hey, listen, we're going to go shoulder to shoulder with you. I'm not asking you for a ton of money. I'm just asking you to take a shot with this. And they're not risking too much money. They're going to take a shot on it. They're not going to risk a ton of money, but they're going to take a shot. And we had promoters in those early days, and still to this day, that take shots with us. And that's what happened at that point. I think everybody, to come back to your question, Seg, everybody was skeptical. You're skeptical with any new act, especially one that really has there's no historical trajectory to lean on.
Yeah. And actually that leads us into what I was going to ask you next is, since then, I guess we've been on the road for what now? Probably 16 years. And that's a lot of shows, and that's a lot of work, and that's a lot of work on your end to set all that up. And I was just going to ask you, as we're getting ready for the tour here in about a week, how long have you been working on that? And who else are you working with, like when you set up our tours and stuff like that?
Cool. Good question. So right now I'm working on summer and fall 25.
Oh, so you're already working.
So I'm already working on next year. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's right.
It's a year in advance. Yeah. So a lot of those, the way the tours work is we look for our tent poles. So we put in by tent poles, the dates that we play every year. We want to make sure that we get the real estate that we need in the calendar. So we want to make sure that we get Indianapolis on the date, the dates that we need. We want to make sure we get Chicago on the dates we need, you know, Nashville at the Ryman, and all these sort of venues that are really hard to get. We want to make sure that we get those in the calendar on the dates that we want. So we work really far ahead to put those things in place. And then we really, another big part of this is looking at where we're going to rehearse and start the tour. So in the fall, typically that's a casino or an arts center that will allow us to come in and take over their place for, you know, a week plus. So that's a lot of the work, is finding those places and cutting those deals that will allow us to start the tour somewhere. Everything gets started a year plus in advance. Yeah, which is fun. And as far as people that I work with to do that, obviously our agent, Andrea Johnson, and Jesse in my office is really invaluable in everything that we do and keeping everything organized as we get into the process of starting to confirm shows, putting a plan together to what are we going to call the tour, how are we going to build the creative, starting to build the box office and the ticketing and the marketing letters and reviewing marketing plans and all that stuff. Kyle in our office, who does all the marketing, like working with everybody it's a machine.
Absolutely. Man, that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff going on in your head, probably.
A lot of moving pieces.
It is. I like to tell people, though, either this stuff makes sense to you or it doesn't. I feel like it's somebody who does really high level math. And you look at that and you're like, oh man, not that I'm comparing the music business to high level math. Like some people just see a math problem and they're like,
Right.
oh, I know how to solve it. And for this business with as many moving parts as there are, it just makes sense in my head. And I'm able to navigate that, and I know where I need to put attention and when, and it just makes sense to me.
But some would think that, okay, so you got the routing all done. You got all the shows ready to go, on sale, tour name, everything's done. But that's when like the real work starts. Now we got to produce this show. Now we got to find all the vendors, what bus company, what trucking company, what lighting company, what audiovisual company, what is the stage going to look like, who's going to be on the crew, who's going to drive these buses, who's going to drive the truck. Now it's like the work is never done, right? It's never, let's put our feet up and okay, we're done. Let's light the cigar. It's over. We could take a break. It's okay. We got part A done. But now that part A is done, B has to start, and B is a heavy lift as well. It's, you guys never get to just settle into a dormant period. There's no slow season or anything, because once the ball is moving, it's you can't stop it. Once that ball stops, that means something's going to go wrong, or things are going to get delivered late, or venues aren't going to have the rider in time. And when we get there, it's going to be a mess. The production manager and the venue manager aren't going to be on the same page. It's going to be a rough load in. It's just a domino effect, right? So you got to make sure all those things are always in motion. And we've been doing this for a long time, so we do have a shorthand way of doing it, but that doesn't mean that it's any less of a lift. Just figuring out contracts and negotiating all the deals on the production side. Like you guys are always wheeling and dealing, trying to maximize everything possible to make everything run smoothly.
And I like to say I live in a constant state of discomfort. And I think that's what motivates me. And I'm sure other people are like me. I assume I'm not alone in that. I'm constantly taking care of what's in front of me, but knowing something else can happen and ready to deal with that thing when it happens. And that's just the nature of the work. And I think to do this job really well, you have to be really good at compartmentalizing things. And if you can't compartmentalize well, you can't have a family life. You've got to be able to put stuff in its box and know that you have to deal with it. And it's something that you have to handle, but you might not have to handle it right now. And there are some problems that you have to handle right now, like somebody not getting into Canada, or hey, there's an epic snowstorm and we've got to figure out how we're going to get home. We have to move a show. We've got like all of these things. These are all things that have happened, and you get into problem solving mode.
Or something happens on your flight on the way to Alaska and you got to try to figure out how to get there.
Yeah,
that was the most recent one.
Oh, I heard it. I listened to the pod. I listened.
Yeah.
I heard it.
Yeah. So like I was gonna ask you, and I think you said something you said a little bit about this earlier, but what is it like working with us? Because there's 9 of us in the band, which is on the larger side, I'm sure.
Mhm.
But what has that sort of been like? And what are the hard things about it? And what are the easier things about it?
I think the easy answer to that on the hard side would be, hey, listen, there's a lot of people to please.
Mm.
And I think by pleasing, meaning making decisions that everybody is happy with. And I think there were times where that was harder to do than others. And I think we're in a season now where we're just all generally on the same page with the things that are happening. And
Absolutely.
if something is, I always feel the need to be really direct about things and say, hey, listen, if something's not going to happen, here's why it's not going to happen. And you guys over the years have gotten better at receiving that information as well. As you have become more seasoned in the business, you know that things happen.
Mhm.
And we may be really excited about this opportunity that's coming down the way, and we're all fired up about it. And then for some reason, it doesn't happen. And I think early on, that would have been catastrophic. It would have been a real big letdown. And now we can say, oh, that's a bummer. And then we move past it. So I think that has been something that's been positive and has evolved. But as far as just things that are really hard, I don't decision making, and I know you guys have touched
Yeah.
on this on the pod. We really do it in segments, unfortunately, in groups. And fortunately, I get to be involved in all of those discussions, whether it's wardrobe or I get to be a part of all those things and contribute. And I know what's going on in all these areas, and we just have a workflow. And it
Absolutely,
works.
man. Yeah.
And that wasn't the case at the beginning because we didn't really know how to do it. And now we've figured out how everything can work. And it works very smoothly. Now, listen, we're 10 people with opinions, and we're going to voice our opinions. And sometimes we're not going to agree, but we always come to a consensus.
And even then,
And I think,
sorry, just to piggyback on what you just said, there will be people that are on the wrong side of a vote all the time. But what I love about this group of guys and everybody involved in our business, once that vote happens, whatever, if you lose the vote, it's over. Now every single person is full effort, full steam ahead on whatever the winning thing was. And that's what I love. I think where we are now as a business and with everyone, I don't think it's ever been as good as it is now in terms of, okay, we voted, it's done, let's move forward. Everybody's on the same page now. There's no, man, I wish we would have, there's no, I don't know what the term is. I can't come up with it, but there's no looking back and saying, oh
correct.
man, we should have done this. It's always, okay, I fought for this, I lost, let's move on. The rest of the guys want this, so now we're doing this, and we all come together and put our full effort and best effort into whatever that thing is.
I agree. And I think that's sometimes a difficult thing to do. And every one of us has been on the opposing side to an issue or something that we were super passionate about that didn't definitely happen to me. It's happened to all of us. And you just, okay, that's the decision and we move on. But that idea of coming to consensus and not letting anything impede the progress of the business, that is something that we all subscribe to. So yeah.
We talk about the brand a lot, right? Like we all want to do what's best for the brand, and you might not be something you agree with or not, but that's ultimately everybody's goal is to do its best for Straight O Chaser. But I think that, like everybody said, we've got a well-oiled machine right now.
Yeah. And it's fun to see. And for the fans that are listening and watching, the moment for us and for me specifically is standing in the back of the house after a show and listening to people. It's my version of secret shopping, but I'll stand there as people are walking out and I'll listen to what they're saying and what songs that they liked, and just to see the joy on people's faces and to give people a couple hours to escape from whatever whatever's going on in their life, a sick family member, a money issues, whatever's going on in their lives, that couple hours of escape is so vital to people's mental health and their lives. And for us to be a part of that and to give people that experience, I don't take that for granted.
Right.
And that's why I like to go out to shows as much as I do, because I like that energy. I want to see that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm glad you brought up the secret shopper thing, because I have a question here that it's a nice segue into. The general public that comes to our shows may not know you by face. However, you made the insane decision to put your email address on our website, and you will frequently get notes sent to you from various people that have attended our shows. And I was just curious, Mr. Secret Shopper, if there are any emails that you've gotten that may stand out, because okay, it's 2024. People are very prickly about a plethora of things, right? And for whatever reason, and that's okay. Everyone is allowed to have any opinion they want on anything. However, sometimes they'll email you about those things. So I'm just curious if any stand out, or if you remember any of them, or if there's one that is bulletin board material, if you will.
They really run the gamut. A lot of them are people that are upset that we're not coming to a particular city, and I will
and then it gets announced the next week, and you're like,
yeah,
just wait, it's coming.
Or like, we were there last week.
No, that happens a lot.
That's the worst. That's the worst.
Like, when you come to Denver, it's like, we were there last Saturday.
Yeah. I just had one that a fan I was corresponding with this weekend, and it was about shows in Southern California. And I was like, they said that they were so disappointed that we weren't performing on the West Coast in December. And I said, we're on the West Coast in November. And he proceeded to tell me that the shows unfortunately weren't near him, and he's in Southern California. And I was like, we were just in Southern California in July. We played at the Hollywood Bowl, and we had shows in Anaheim, and oh, well, I couldn't make those. Oh, okay. And I think sometimes people don't realize that it is actually me responding. Like, it's not someone in my office. It's actually me writing the emails. A lot of folks do write in about, like I said, cities. Some people will suggest songs. Some of the songs, I just don't know where they come from and why someone would suggest the songs that they suggest. And I know that happens to you guys too.
I'll stop emailing you.
But it's, okay, thanks for the suggestion. But and that's a great thing with the music that we do. It's that it invokes a moment and a feeling for people, and they may have a certain attachment to a song, and they're like, oh, I would love to hear Straight No Chaser sing this song because this song means something to me. There's a reason they're suggesting it. It's because it means something to them. But a lot of that.
Also, though, on the last run, we did a hard rock song, right? So we do a whole gamut. We did just do Metallica, so that's cool.
Yeah. But if it's like a deep Elvis Costello cut, and you're like,
oh, no one knows this. Yeah.
It's not even a B side. It's like a G side.
Yeah. It's got to be, something at least.
It's a never released song by Elvis Costello. Come on. It was sent to me. I'm on an email list. Like, all right, we got 2,000 other people to think about in the theater.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No.
Yeah, I was just gonna one more question about the live show and how you touched on it a little bit, how important it's been for us and our business. And then I know that you've mentioned to people before that you just got to come see him live. You just got to come see him live. It's a different experience. So the live show, how it relates to us and how important it is, and also the music business right now, where the live show is becoming more and more important, in my opinion, than selling albums. But I'll let you answer that.
Yeah. If you're talking strictly from a revenue perspective, the majority of artists make their money on the road. That is where people are able to put food on their table. And I think for us, the live show is Straight No Chaser. I think the way I articulate it to somebody who's never seen a show, think of the Rat Pack. Think of what that era was like. It was showmanship. It was friends on stage letting you into their living room and giving them a taste of what they're really like with each other, what their real banter is, actual friends. And I think that we do a really great job of letting people into our world every night. You know, what it's like to be in the band, what it's like to be on stage. That's our living room, and we let people into it. And I think that you guys, you know, in crafting, intros and whatnot, it's like it's thought through and everybody works on it, but it's also able to live and breathe every night too. You're able to adapt to what's happening in the theater. Nothing is, there's soft scripting, but it's not so scripted that you can't react in the moment. And I think that's the beauty of the show too, is you could go see the show for a week straight and you're going to have unique moments that happen in every one of those shows because you guys react to the audience. You're reacting to specific moments. There could be something that happened on the bus today or something that happened in the city. And there's always something new that you bring to the show every night. And I think that's the beauty of it. It's in my mind, the purest form of musical expression. It's real theater. It's live theater. It's an experience. It's not a show. And that's what I tell people in less words.
It's like Ocean's 11. If Ocean's 11 was an a cappella group, like
Yeah.
it's that. It's a bunch of bros like
But we're
hanging out.
not criminals though.
Not yet. Not yet.
Well, some guys might be. I don't
if
know.
the tickets start doing this, then might have
We're
to
robbing casinos.
might have to head to Vegas. But you brought up living rooms, and now I want to talk about what your vision or what your thoughts are on what the ceiling is for Straight No Chaser. So we're 16 years deep, and we can honestly say that we've been on an upward trajectory every year. Everything is always continuing to grow. We're in a very small niche, and it's really tiny. So there are so many more people for us to hit. And every year we're adding a few more to that group that we already have. People always ask me, like, when are you guys going to play like all the arenas? I'm like, I don't think we ever will. That's not really our vibe. Our show is best suited for a theater. It's fun to play those arenas. It's a different energy, but I think the theater space is where we excel, not just because it's a little more prim and proper, but just because it's a little more intimate and we can see the audience very well and they could see us very well. We could react off each other. But what do you envision as the ceiling of S&C? Where do you think we'll not max out, but where do you think we're headed?
This is going to sound cliche, but I'm going to say it anyway. There really is no ceiling. I think there's areas of growth that we have, as you mentioned, be it Asia, which we're working on, getting back to Europe and growing the business there, continuing to build on what we're doing in the summer. There's so many places where we can continue to grow the business and continue to reach people that haven't quite discovered us yet. And that's fun. And then even domestically, it's getting in front of more people on a night overnight basis. We have this theory that we don't skip steps. We don't move venues until we've sold it out. And we can continue to grow in certain markets as well. In some markets, we have quote unquote hit a ceiling because there's no bigger place that we can play. Maybe we add a second show, and we continue to play for people that want to see us. And part of our work is getting the word out there about the group and preaching the gospel to people via marketing to fans, having conversations like I'm doing this week with promoters and various business partners, some of whom may not already be in our business. Some of them already are, and they're like, hey, I want more shows. I want to do more stuff. Great. Let's talk about that. And let's see how that looks. But for me, my work is to continuously be an advocate for the band to go out and do the work that the band is doing. And I'm doing that here this week. We do that on a night overnight basis when we're trying to sell tickets. And to me, there is no ceiling for this band, but there is work that we have to do. There's markets that still need to experience this. So that's the work that's out there.
Love that. If there is a ceiling, I hope it's as beautiful as the one above your
Seriously,
head right now.
very nice.
Absolutely.
We know that you are really busy, David, and we're going to wrap it up here, but we just wanted to say it was really nice of you to make a little bit of room in your schedule this morning for us and all of our fans. I hope that you guys liked listening to everything that he had to say. We hope you have a great week here in Nashville, David, and we'll see you at the end of the week or next week, right?
Thanks, buddy.
Absolutely.
Sure.
This was fun. Thanks, guys.
All right, man. See you, David.
Very informative. I'm sure
That was great.
a lot of fans have questions like that about his role and how he got started and about a little bit about the business side of all the things. So that was really good.
Yeah.
My
And
cup is-
we hope
sorry.
that as we go on through the year and in rehearsals next week, we want to have more of our crew members. I guess not crew, it's more of a team.
I was going to say that I
Our
think
creative leaders.
so you can
so
look
this is
forward to
our
hearing
last.
some more. Yeah. Yeah, Ty, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that this being our last one before we go out on the road, it's probably safe to say that when we'll be together doing these pods, we'll have a lot more opportunities for guests. So
Yes.
they will probably be more frequent.
No.
Some wanted and some unwanted.
Yeah, tell us who you don't want on.
Jasper, what?
Outside
No,
of
so, is that out
outside
loud?
outside of the three of us.
And we will
Um,
share the news with all the band members once we hear the results.
We'll share it live on stage at the very
We'll
first
tell
show.
Here's who they are.
What are you guys doing the rest of the day?
I am continuing to work. I know you guys,
Oh
you
my
guys get it.
gosh, we
get
it.
Always
So-
working.
But I'm almost done, and then I get to work on my own learning track. So then I'll start working on all my parts that I'm gonna just put them on a playlist and just put
Mhm.
them drive around in my car until I
I love it.
knowing
Better
well.
fill up that gas tank.
Good work.
It's electric.
Oh yeah, Tigers today, yeah.
Tigers today at 4, so I got a little
4.
time. I got to shore up some stuff on the video end.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Um,
We have that whole side of things too.
Yeah, I've got to go through a couple of the songs just for technical things, not music related for me.
Oh.
But yeah, just it's funny. Like I made a playlist on my computer on iTunes, and then it didn't show up on my phone. Like I thought it would also be on the phone. So I'd go in my phone and recreate the same playlist, which was weird. I thought was weird. But look, it's right here.
There you go. You're all set.
Top
You
shit.
can't see it. It's
It's
yeah, we can't
invisible.
see it.
Hold
We
on.
still can't
I'll
see it.
get it.
'cause-
I'll get it.
'cause you-
That's
yeah.
right there.
There
Top
you
shelf.
go.
This is A+ content right here.
It's
All
what the people tune in for, man. I'm
That's
telling you.
that's what I heard. That's all they. I got that as a question actually here.
What is it?
It's can Segi show us his playlist on his phone?
Oh yeah, it's right here.
Boom,
Okay.
answered.
We're
Um,
answering questions in real
you
time.
guys, actually, we answered one earlier that our boy Rich asked about our like roles at home, but we said a little bit about that earlier. But
Nice.
we will save the fan questions for the next time, I believe, which will all
Yes.
be together in the same
Yeah.
room at Parks Casino.
We're gonna do one or more than one in rehearsal week, so you can look for that. So I'm looking forward to it, and we hope all of you guys are as well. For Mike, Segi, Tyler, this has been the unofficial official pod. Oh, one last thing. Remember to like and subscribe. And if you have questions, you can email us at unofficialofficialpod@gmail.com. Name and where you're from, and we will get to those as we go along. All right, guys. You have anything else?
Nope. Thanks
Hold
for
on, hold
listening,
on.
everybody. Oh boy.
I do have something real quick.
Is,
Hold
it,
on.
is this another playlist?
No, this will be good. This will be good.
Is it a Tiger song?
This will be good. I just have this to say.
Oh gosh.
Change is coming to town. Change is coming to town.
New closing music. I love it. We'll
coming
see
to
you guys
town,
out on the
baby.
road in your town soon. All right. See you guys.
See ya.
Later. Number 11.